I think I've cracked the code. It took me longer than I thought it would for this build because I thought it was a simple, straightforward build, but it was so dog crap that I had to keep trying to make it good, and I think I finally made it good, but a little more niche than I would have liked, but we're going to jump into it. Really quick before we do, though, we're talking Unicorn Overlord, and I want to thank, each one of my members and supporters. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. If you want to consider supporting the Plat, become a member, become a supporter. You get all kinds of nice knickknacks and patty wax. Give the old man a bone. This old man came dogging home. Now, we are talking about probably the final of the nuclear strike builds that I'm going to be doing. Maybe there's another character with another item. Maybe we'll cover something else like that. But I want to move on to different ideas for builds instead of all alpha damage. But we're still all alpha damage in this one. So we are talking about the Trinity Reign Millennium Scepter. And because this is a magic item, there are some huge benefits and huge downsides to this. So this makes this, in my opinion, a way more fragile and niche, but still potentially more powerful build if there isn't a counter, comparatively to the other nuclear strike, right? The other nuclear strike has an insane amount of power, but this one I think has more, but it's also way easier to counter, in my opinion. So I dubbed this team the Penta Strike. Why is it called the Penta Strike? Because I actually think it only functions if you have 5 characters. I don't think you could really do this build very well with 4 characters. So you could do it. If you don't want to do the recast, you can get by with a very, very different team. But if you want to, the idea is when the very first turn of combat, before anyone gets to go, you get to Trinity Reign. They are going to, so before the game starts, you get hastened action, all right? So you have max initiative. You then Trinity Reign. They are going to quick impetus you, so you instantly get to cast Trinity Reign. You know, the charge instantly ends. When you go to cast it, the Were Owl is going to be using the Familiar's Choker on you to give you a 50% boost to your magic attack, which is so important for this build. I actually think this is essential for the later game, the fights of the build, because we'll get into it. Giving you 50% more magic attack. Then you're going to attack. And you'll do good damage, but your accuracy is actually pretty bad as a wizard. Then you are going to recast with your 4 PP, and you're going to instantly Trinity Reign a second time. The second time you do it, you already have the 50% boost, right? Because this is not for one attack. This is for the rest of combat. Then you are going to get Focus Sight from the Witch to make your second hit a True Strike, causing you to do a guaranteed True Strike with 50% magic damage in a row. So you're hitting a total of 6 times, right? Magic potency 106 times. That's the idea. But it really does require all these characters, because this requires 4 PP, this requires 4 PP, this requires 3 PP, this only requires 1, this only requires 1. So you could probably put these on the same character, but I like having, basically the reason I have it on Penta is because this build is already fragile, and I like having the Owl with Quick Dispel to make it a little bit more consistent, because if they have a Witch or something with Quick Cast, you can just dispel that with the Owl. So you could probably move the Sorceress Connection onto the Witch and get rid of the Owl and just use Focus Sight and that, and give her 4 PP, and that'll probably be plenty to get you through there. But I don't think that's as good. But, okay, let's go over a couple things. Why are we choosing the characters we're choosing? There's no reason to choose the Werefox. I was just using it because I was picking a front line. A lot of my other characters are on other things here, right? I don't want to move around all my characters for every single time I do a build video. And because we're not using start of action like this, it didn't really matter who. I could have put the Gladiator here as well, but I'm practicing a different team for him. So it doesn't matter. Just have someone hold Lips Ring and have at least 3 PP. The Druid is not insanely important. I like being able to move some items around, I guess. Like I don't know. Honestly, the Druid's not important either. I just like the Druid because it's a very magical team. Initially I was going to do the Familiar's Choker on the Druid, but I decided just to do the quick impetus on there instead. You could easily switch this out. My Druid's a higher level. It was less likely to get sniped. But you want someone that can hold the cat ear hood and have 4 PP. Now, the Warlock I actually think is important here, because the Warlock has basically pretty good stats, right? He just has the highest magic attack. As far as the accuracy, it's a little bit worse, but we're already going to get Focus Strike on it. And now, I know we're like, okay, we're using Hastened Action. Why not just use the Witch, who has Quick Cast and the Focus Sight built in? 2 reasons. One, we need the recast, right? And so if we're going to do the Quick Cast, so we instantly start our own fight fast, we're getting rid of our Critical Strike, but that's not that important. We're at 70%, right? So we instantly get to go, but then we have to have 2 owls. So we could do that. I don't think it's like the worst thing, but then you have 2 owls with 4 PP. So that it just like it gets difficult. I feel like you could probably make it work that way if you wanted to do that, but this character still has the most damage. So between them needing their 4 PP for themselves, and the Focus Sight can't be cast on themselves, it has to be an ally, I figured that the Warlock was the best for the Millennium Scepter. I wonder what other characters can equip it. I kind of forgot to look here. Let's take a look. Okay, it's just those 2. So the Witch is important. We want Focus Sight. There's items that do similar things, I'm sure. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but you want Focus Sight. You want to spend 1 PP, make the next attack a True Strike. And again, the Owl is mostly because we really need a class that can hold the Familiar's Choker. And I think the Owl is actually really good in terms of quick dispel. The Circle Barrier might come into play sometimes if they have like an ability that's, you know, a start of turn deal, like the Swordmaster instantly attacks, or the Werewolf instantly attacks. You might want to give this character a PP, turn on their evade, or you might want to do something like this. I mean, you're flying, right? So you actually have double evade anyway, which your evade is not very high, but quick dispel circle barrier could be pretty good. You don't actually need restore for this build, which feels like a waste for an owl, because this is like a really good ability, but honestly, it's mostly to give the 50% attack. So that's why we're choosing, everyone. As far as the items, this is a very restrictive build. Very restrictive. You need to have 4 PP on your main damage dealer. You need to have 3 AP, and you need to have the Millennium Scepter and the Magia Soul. This is from the Divine Shards. This is from the Colosseum. So, like, you need to have this weapon equipped to have Trinity Rain. Then you need to have this item equipped to have 4 P, you know, so you could use the recast. There might be another item with this. I haven't found one. This seems to be the one that I'm aware of. All right. If there's another item that's insane that gives you +2 AP, +2 PP, and recast, now we're talking a whole different build here, but not yet. Then you need to give yourself 2 base PP with a Sapphire Pendant. Then you have to give yourself at least base 1 AP with a Cerulean Pendant or something like it, right? You could do the Hero Pendant and a Lapis Pendant, whatever. You need to have 4 PP and 3 AP. So you don't really have any room here for items. You need these 4 specific items, essentially, right? So that's pretty restrictive, meaning you can't boost your damage, meaning you really need this Familiar's Choker. So, but when all said is done, like, right, even without this stuff, basically the reason I have all this off is to demonstrate, like, these tactics, right? The reason I have all this stuff off is because, like, we could even do this, right? These are the things that are not necessary. The whole idea of this build is that you win with Trinity Rain on the very first turn. If you don't, this team does not stand well. You could equip this character with a bunch of evasion, and then ground units are going to have a hard time hitting them. You can have this character turn on their, you can give them a 4th PP and turn on Nocturnal Evade to activate only 1 time, something like that, as long as your PP is 4. Things like that. So you can do some manipulations here. That way, if you don't instantly kill them, you still have a bunch of AP that you haven't used on the team, right? So there is some more damage here, but I have this off because this is just highlighting the important things here. The things that I want to have on. Focus Sight, these 3, only the recast. You don't want anything else on. Trinity Rain. And you, like, for example, right, he's going to have 1 AP left, so you can just turn on Fireball because the quick impetus is going to give him an AP. And then hastened action. So this is the build. Now, why is it good? Why is it bad? It's good because it is Sorceress's connection is a fuck ton of magic attack. That is a lot of magic attack to put into a giant AoE attack. That's also the fact that it's magic means that there are less characters that have, like, you know, there's a lot of block ranged attacks, you know, nullify damage kind of things. Magic attacks, I feel like there's more enemies have lower magic defenses in general. Now, the enemies that have magic defense tend to have it really high, but a lot of enemies will have just on average a lower magical defense. And you can get this really boost here. But why is it bad? So the fact that focus sight, I mean, you could do focus sight on each one, I guess, but I really think you really want to do the sorceress connection. That's the big thing. Basically, there's just a fuck ton of units that counter this, man. So which fight are we going to show you on? We're going to show you on 6. But, like, if we come up here, as you get later into the game, there's just a lot of dudes with motherfucking reflect magic. And it's really hard to just get around that. The owl can't dispel that because it happens that he doesn't even, like, do a thing. Like, it just, like, you cast the spell and then it hits you instead and it instantly kills your team, right? I haven't seen a reflect physical. Maybe there is. I haven't seen it. But if you come to, like, the Feather Knight guy, like, this guy is just one of his main skills. Like, at level 1, he gets reflect magic, right? So when these guys start showing up, it's like, it just instantly counters the build. Radiant Knights will instantly counter the build, right? Radiant Knights just kind of fuck the whole build up. Owls will fuck the build up because owls will instantly dispel your thing when you go to do it. Insanely high magic defense guys, like this guy has 75 magic defense. We might be able to kill this guy, but it would fuck it up. But even this thing having this guy just has a hasten shatter, right? Highest defense, you attack him. He could win a lot of times if you're not careful. So, like, and actually another thing that did counter it was this hastened action. Like, this character can hasten action on this character so they could recast, kind of what we're doing. But that's why I put in the D-spell, because I actually think we could beat this fight now. But there's just a lot of things that counter it. But when it goes off, it is, I think, even more powerful than the other versions of this build I've been showing you. So let's see if this one even works. Hopefully it does. And we're going to try a couple of these fights without editing our stuff because we want it to do good. Hastened action. So he also hastened actions, but this is why we have our owl. Quick dispel. Now we get a Trinity ring. Instantly gonna go. And then we're gonna get the sorceress connection, 50% more magic. You can see our hit rate is pretty bad right now, like 61% on the witch. Now it didn't matter, we did hit him, hit her, whatever. But then we do a second time, this time with focus strike, so it's guaranteed, and you do it again. So it works, but if they are interacting with you or preventing you, or that, God forsake, that counter magic will just instantly blow you up. I don't think we could beat this one because of the character. They go after whoever has the highest defense and just tries to kill him. But let's see. Maybe for laughs, we can see if we can beat this one. I mean, most of the fights in the game, you're going to be able to destroy with this. But as the fights get more complex, you're going to lose that ability. All right, they missed. That's still lucky more than anything. And then once we get here, I do think we win every single time. Once you actually get your attack off, I think you win every time. Because even though we're going to miss that character in the back a fuck ton, the second time this goes off with focus sight with the increased damage, I think this is just going to do enough damage just to wipe him out because of the guaranteed hits. Because it's still... Okay, well, it did it on that guy. So maybe I want that AP. But it's not... We're going to win without the AP. Because he doesn't have enough juice left. So let's skip. So even then, even when it all went off, we had kind of bad hit chance there. I think we missed all 3 of our 60% or something on that guy. But you know what I mean. Vanguards don't hurt this team, which is pretty nice about it, but that's not a huge deal. You also can't do the thunderous, like, when you're like, add stun to an attack, add freeze to an attack, add burn to an attack. Those only apply to physical. So it's another thing that just kind of like, kind of lame in general, IMO. But, I mean, it's still, let's see if these guys have it. Let's do one more fight here. Provoking Wall. I'm just looking for something that counters magic attacks. If it doesn't counter magic attacks, like, even if a team like this is really, really strong, if they don't have an instant way to interact with us on basically turn 0, then they're probably going to die. But there is more and more ways to do that, is kind of what I'm saying. So we start with hastened action. He does a provoking wall. We got to attack him, but we attack everything. And never mind, it's dispelled anyway. And so kind of as you can see here, once you go, it goes. I mean, that's just kind of the rules. And that was only one of our 2 attacks. So I actually think this does do more damage straight up. But you got to watch out for these Feather Knights, because at level 1, they get Reflect Magic, man. And you know what? They're not afraid to use it. It's always used. Even Sacrifice. Before an ally's attack, risk one's life to cover an ally. Grants the user +2 PP. That's kind of interesting. I like that. I mean, I guess they just don't guard. They just jump in front of it without the guard. But does that even matter? They have a passive 65% guard rate, it looks like. Anyway, that's not important. So that's the build. That's the idea. This is probably the last super nuke build I'm going to do. Like turn 0 nuke style build. Although I am interested if does her elemental roar count as a magic attack or a physical attack when it's both of them? I am kind of interested, because if this is just a no range attack, or a no charge attack all enemies, you don't even have, you could just stun the whole enemy team, or you could just burn them, or you could just freeze them. Without having to do the quick impetus style of thing. Now, you would lose all your fairies, but you're not going to have any fairies, so who cares? Anyway, that's all for today. I'll be back with some more builds soon. The Purplatypus is Purplatypus. Let me know if you have a different idea for this build. It is the Penta Strike. I do think we pretty much need all of these for it to function well. You might be able to condense some of this, like I said, these 2 into 1 character, and then have something else here. But at that, like, what are you really gaining out of it? I don't know. It would be hard to gain a lot of power, I think, out of that slot, because you can't use a start a fight effect as long as you're using hastened action. But maybe, let me know if you could do the Witch quick cast version with, I mean, even then it wouldn't matter. You still have the at the start of battle. So I'm just rambling now. Guys, see you on the next one. Purplatypus, Purplatypus.